Have you ever been in love? I'm in love with chocolate. And here's why. Because chocolate will always be there. Yes. There's chocolate for every moment. For example, when you're celebrating your birthday, or when you're sad after a really terrible breakup, or when you're moody, or even out with your friends, or when you're just having fun, gathering with friends and then doing stuff that friends do normally. But I guarantee that eating chocolate or sharing chocolate is the best form of expression of love. Sometimes it is also the only way to shut your kids up. For this reason, the industry keeps growing and demand keeps increasing. Did you know that on an average, Valentine's Day, about 353 million euros of chocolate are sold around the world? Did you also know that about 5.6 kilograms of chocolate is consumed by an average Belgian? That's pretty much. But we love the chocolate and we love our cacao because of the flavor. Because flavor is everything. And that's where there is problem. Because at the moment, you can do more with less and less with more. Let me explain. There are two types of cacao in the industry. We have what we call the fine flavor and then the bulk flavor cocoa. The fine flavor cocoa is known for its fruity and floral flavor, and it constitutes about 5% of global production. Because of that, companies are willing to pay so much for this type of cacao. And then we have the bulk cacao, which is 95% of global production, and the flavor is not that great compared to the fine flavor, because most people describe it as acidic, astringent. It has an intense cocoa flavor, and it is less fruity and floral. So because of that, it is also cheap. But this is where most of our cacao or most of our chocolate is coming from. But you see, the human need, our need, is driven by an unceasing demand for diversity, which is what brings me to the problem of the day. How can we find low-cost strategies to boost or diversify or even maximize the flavor of bulk cacao in a way that is sustainable, cheap, and can also meet the ever-growing consumer demand? So many approaches have been tried in the past. The worst-case scenario is when companies trick us by adding artificial flavor to your chocolate to let you think that it is the flavor, the natural flavor that you bought. But this is really not what we want. And then there's a suggestion for the addition of starter culture to your fermenting mass. So these are microorganisms which are also reacting during the fermentation process and are expected to create a certain type of flavor that are required. But you see, from several assessments, we have realized that this is really expensive, it is not sustainable, and not easily applicable. And don't forget that these are microorganisms, and so you need to create a certain microclimate under which they can function optimally. And in this case, you have to learn to simulate all of that around the different growing regions around the world, which is really difficult to do. So we propose, and this is where we think that pot storage is the only way out for a more sustainable future. What is pot storage? It's really simple. 2 words, pot and storage. So you have your pots after harvesting, and then you store them before fermentation. There are 3 things that are really important: your time, your temperature, and your relative humidity. We know from studies that there are certain biochemical and physical interactions that are happening during this process that affect your levels of sugars and amino acids, and then also other components that are necessary for flavor formation. So for our studies, we adapted 3 different treatments. That's 0, 3, and 7. So 0 was 0-day pot storage. The pots were harvested and then opened for fermentation on the spot. And then 3 days means that the cocoa pots were also stored for 3 days, and likewise 7 days of pot storage. Afterwards, we went through the normal fermentation process, and then roasting process, which is necessary for your flavor formation again, and yummy, chocolate. I bring you back to my question. Is it possible that through pot storage, you can really influence the flavor profile of your chocolate? Well, this is what we got. After applying the 3 different treatments We got 3 different types of chocolate, all from the same type of cacao, that's the bulk cacao, but with 3 different flavor profiles. 0-day post-storage was typically fruity and floral, and in some cases comparable to what is known, some origin chocolate and some fine flavor cacao. 3 days was more nutty in flavor and had less cacao flavor as well. And then 7 days of post-storage had an intense cacao flavor with some slightly sour or acidic undertones. So you see, we can, through post-storage, create 3 different flavors from the same cheap cacao. But we see diversity here in terms of flavor. But what is also interesting is that we have diversity in terms of the advantages for the farmer, for the industry, and also for you, the consumers. What is in it for the farmer? Well, through post-storage, we stimulate value addition, which leads to better income and, of course, improve their livelihoods. What is in it for the industry? Well, we stimulate diversity, the ability to create different chocolates with different flavors from the same cheap bulk cacao. It is also easily applicable around the world. And in most cases, you don't even need to train your farmers how to do it, because in some countries, we have found from surveys that they do it naturally. And then also, it is interesting to know that it's sustainable and that the application or the practice of post-storage comes with a 0 cost. What is in it for you, the consumers? I think that's the important part. Well, you get to be treated to different types of chocolates with different flavors, and you pay the same price for it. But it's also interesting to know that the flavor profile of your chocolate has not been compromised by the addition of any artificial flavors, which is what everybody wants. So we see, by applying post-storage, we get a win-win and a win situation for all the stakeholders along the chain, even for the little ones among us. Thank you.